Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We just had a session with Mr. Chandrasekhar Ghosh from the Bandhan Bank, and now I'm going to have Ms. Vibha Padalkar, MD and CEO of HDFC Life Insurance, and Tapan Singhel, MD and CEO of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, for this panel discussion. Vibha, I'm glad to have you. Tapan sir, glad to have you.
Good to see you, Amol. Long time.
Yes, sir. How are you, Vibha?
Very well. I was telling Tapan that because of you, I'm, somewhere in between Mumbai to Delhi, and I
Great.
could not say no to you.
Thank you so much for that. And it's a big day. We were expecting a lot. And I remember a nice comment by economist. He said that, we were expecting something much better, and the government has even fulfilled that. So, looking at the capex cycle, which the government has tried to give, I think 35% of capital expenditure, which is much higher, come to 7 to 7.50 lakh crores. There is nothing directly specifically for an insurance sector, but the kind of investments which the government is going to make in the infrastructure sector and in the whole economy, I'm sure automatically it will benefit all the sectors. So, Yohanan, let me come to you first and take your opinion in terms of how did you read the budget? What are the key highlights that you that attracted you?
I thought it was a good budget for various reasons. Overall, it was a very growth. It is a very growth-led budget. Headline of 6.4% for FY23 in terms of fiscal deficit. Very bold moves in terms of capital spending, infrastructure spending, allocation for railway. All of those items. Yes, we don't know how inflation will pan out, or overall in terms of balancing the budget, how the deficit will still be reined in at the 6.4% level. But nevertheless, I think directionally, as a nation comes out of the pandemic, it is the right signal, absolutely, to say that let's get back to work. And government will support it, and that is the single biggest takeaway. Wherein government is going to do the heavy lifting, and then saying that, by the way, I'm doing all of this, and corporate growth will follow. And she also mentioned PPP a couple of times, so I think that spirit of partnership as against you guys versus us. It was very much that we are in this together. We can do wonders in terms of investment. Also, some of the new aspects, I think we'll have to see how that will pan out. Wherein she talked about the digital rupee. A lot of headlines were grabbed because of that. Would be interesting, at least directionally. She talked about blockchain. So there has been a fair bit of yo-yoing on that, on cryptos and so on. I think it appears that there are indications that government is willing to embrace new tech. She also mentioned startup community innovation quite a few times. Privatization is one aspect that didn't come across very clearly, apart from a couple of names that she talked about. So these two. So just tempering my enthusiasm would be in terms of inflation and privatization agenda. But otherwise, overall, I think a very good budget.
Okay, noted your points, Vibha ma'am. Tapan sir, what do you think? What is your first comment on the budget?
I have a mixed reaction. First and foremost, I'm super happy to see the focus on clean energy, the ESG part. I think that is something which, as a country, is a very, very good step, and this is something that we should be doing. So I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy on the infrastructure spend. I'm very happy on the security bond which is there. I'm very happy on the national, health digital mission which is there, because I think repository of health data overall and usage of it to save lives, fast reactions, create infrastructure on that is going to be phenomenal. I think we have not discussed this enough, but we underestimate the power of a digital repository of health, because in my belief, in 3 to 5 years, that will lead to a lot of benchmarks in terms of how the ecosystem will work out. So these are something I'm very super excited about. What I'm disappointed about is, I have a strong belief, and I mentioned it many times, government and insurance companies together can make a huge difference to the society. I think that is something which has been one of it. Expecting a universal health coverage for all. Some states have started that. So I'm expecting that if that could be there, because if you have health cover for all as Indians, and we are very close to being actually do that now. Let's say if we had talked 5-7 years back, maybe it was something which we thought is far-fetched, but today I think we can. It's a stage where we can talk about healthcare for everybody, health insurance for everybody, because that would lead to the average life expectancy of Indians going up by 5 to 7 years. When you have that, it's a very clear correlation between health insurance for everybody and life expectancy. Second is on terms of NatCat losses, which is happening all across. If you look at The economic losses versus the insured loss, there's a huge gap. So a lot of people are being pushed below poverty line. So parametric solutions, like we came out with government health, for states where people could cover people below poverty line. A parametric solution for all the coastal states or something. So when you have national losses of this scale, and now you're having 4 or 5 in a year, it's no more once in a 20-year phenomena. That could have made a difference to social life. Third, on the GST part, my expectation was on health. If you look at in terms of the health insurance premium moving up, there are restrictions that for 3 years you can't move it up. So the insurance company is taking the full brunt of covering COVID, and they're incurring huge losses. So I think time was there where the government also should have chipped in by lowering the GST. At least the price for the customer does not go up, no, because then that becomes a huge difference. So those are my expectations, insurer, and I felt that this should come together as a collaboration, insurance companies and government, for making the citizens' life much better. But having said that, as Vibha mentioned, in terms of the progressive look, the future outlook, the way it's addressing solutions for be it ESG, clean energy, infrastructure, data creation, data lakes, the digital ecosystem, super excited on that. So those are my first reactions.
Okay, noted. Again, meaningful points, Tapan sir. I think this would have been a better time if they would have done something on the universal health policy, considering the the pandemic that we are going through.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think valid points. So, Mohammed, let me come to you. Generally, when the budget comes, tax slab is one of the major attraction when it comes to the customer's point. There's nothing on that front because that is directly connected with the what you can say the insurance companies here. Do you see, there will be a change in the consumption considering the confidence which the government has poured into the all the sectors, and insurance will also get some benefit out of it.
It's a yes and no answer. There will
Hmm.
be more. There will be more credit. There will be more of overall borrowings, as well as overall growth led, even for small SMEs, MSMEs, and so on. And that will percolate into more consumption. But to my earlier point, I do believe that it's not very, that the jury is out there in terms of inflation and how much inflation is going to eat into their discretionary expenditure. Now, insurance is by no means discretionary, but in the basket of goods that otherwise are there for various things. I think that will continue to be under question mark because of inflation. So that to Tapan's very valid point on, God forbid, there's another pandemic or another variant or another avatar of this virus, which is not as benign as fortunately this last one, Omicron, was. Then again, there could be a fair bit of erosion of one's savings because people don't have adequate health insurance or other forms of insurance. So all things being equal, hopefully consumption should increase, and also thereby demand for insurance products. But there are too many unknowns, like I just mentioned. Also, in terms of our ask, some of the things that have not been looked at is the ATC, which is very crowded, ATD for health, that also hasn't been changed for a very long time. And medical inflation, for example, is maybe 2.5x or thereabouts of normal inflation. Also, pension, our ask has been on more and more senior citizens are coming into that category and outliving their retirement age by over 20 years, and in the same inflation is eroding into their savings. So that there's a real probability that people will run out of money because they're outliving their savings, and that risk is even higher than passing away prematurely. And that is double taxed today. Annuities are double taxed, which is very non-equitable in the hands of a pensioner. Also, lighter touch on GST, on protection, on annuities. These things could have given a good indication that people should focus on this. None of that has happened, and we'll continue to engage with the government that it's in their interest also to ensure that there is an insured population, that senior citizens are taken care of, and so on. So yes, all of that has been given a miss.
So quickly, let me ask you: by any chance, do you see a negative impact on the sale of the insurance, specifically the premiums going ahead? Because ultimately, a lot of insurance companies have increased the premium considering the losses which they faced in last 6 to 12 months, and there is no GST respite. The prices are not going to come down. There are no additional tax benefits considering the inflation is very high and the tax slabs are very limited. So, do you see some negative impact on the sales of insurance?
I'll take that. I don't think so in the near term. People are, thanks to the pandemic, people are beginning to certainly realize the need for insurance. 2 years ago, Amol, it was why do I need? This is an expense. I'm going to outlive. And I would have paid all this money to an
Yes.
insurer, not understanding the nature of insurance. But today, I think people are very noticeably not asking those questions. They are asking questions slightly more evolved to say what type of insurance, how much, if an ex person in my family is not really a breadwinner, does he or she still require insurance? These are very good questions to ask, which means that an
Right.
average person is thinking along those lines, and that is very noticeable thanks to now the third wave of the pandemic. So I actually believe with prices going up, there is going to be a increased demand, paradoxically, because people are going to
Right.
realize that this is only a one-way street. And prices, if you look at whole host of things, if you look at what the paint sector has gone through, they've taken anything between 15 to 25% price increase because some of the key raw materials have gone up by 50%.
Sure.
If you look at pharma, if you every sector, so why should insurance be any different, wherein prices have not corrected for a very long time in terms of
Hmm.
mortality cover or other types of pure protection? So people will start understanding that this is par for course, and this is not a bargain thing that they or a tick in the box that they should
Right.
have. This is something that they need to allocate something from their basket of savings to cover themselves.
So basically, people will not go for insurance just as a sake of a tax saving instrument going ahead.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, valid point, ma'am. Tapan sir, I want you to explain us more in terms of digital health pipeline which the government is talking about, and how will it actually benefit? Because there is one aspect which the government is very positive on since last couple of years is pushing the digital very aggressively, and this time also not only just startups but creating a whole ecosystem. They are not talking about digital rupee, which can be an, I won't say equivalent to cryptocurrency, but they gave something which people wanted. The CBDC, central bank digital currency. The same way, I believe that the whole financial ecosystem will get benefit out of digital. So, in that perspective, how do you think national digital health ecosystem will actually play a major role to boost the insurance?
So, Amal, first, I'll talk about boosting insurance later. Let's talk about a data lake of health. And I've been talking about it. Let's say insurance companies have
Right.
huge amount of data. So let's talk of COVID. When COVID started, you had different treatment protocols being followed by different hospitals all across the country. And some were giving good success. The transmission of this information was taking a lot of time, the best practices. So it took months before you could reach to a protocol of what has to be done. Now imagine insurance company settling claims. They know what protocols we followed, what is leading to improvement, what has not led to improvement, where the fertility has gone up. Now all that is there with insurance companies. Yeah. Now you put it together, run an analytics. Can you imagine the power, Amol, in terms of how fast transmission happens of success rates of different protocols we followed to doctors, and to analysts, and to give an answer that this is the best thing going forward right now. So the entire thing in terms of number of lives that can be saved, Amol, the number of treatments that can be refined at much hyperspace, the kind of research which can happen. Can you imagine that? Today, because of disjointed, and by the time the papers come through, seminars happen, research happen, by the time all this gets together, it's years. How many people lost their life because they could not get the best protocol treatment which could have happened? Somewhere is happening, somewhere is getting saved. I think data in health is going to play a very, very big role. So if you look at it broadly, insurance is, to me, is always secondary. The first thing is what benefit does it do for the country, for people, which is huge. That to me would be a huge step. And I've always been pushing this, that the insurance company data should be used for analysis. Not only for this, let's say road. We know exactly where accidents are happening normal. We know exactly what are the pressure points. We know where the TP claims are happening. Put the data together. Find out why the accident is happening. Is the road too sharp? Is the light not there? Just a small difference would save so many lives.
Right.
The power of data the insurance companies have is phenomenal. Putting it together to solve country's problem is something to that. So I see, from my perspective, when I say I'm excited about this, is that this would be a right step in that direction, where you put the data together. From individual's perspective, it's a huge step again. Like for me as Tapan Singhel, I right now I've been transferred to so many places. Luckily, Pune, I've been here for 10 years, time. Otherwise, every 2 years I'm in a new city. So my health record, I not know myself also. Kab kahan pe kya tha. My existing doctor called them up and asked, can you tell me what medicine you gave me 3 years back? The new doctor wants to do. So a unified, for me, as an individual, is going to be a huge difference. Now let me give you an example of my father. He orders medicines online. Otherwise, for him to get his medicines, to go in the store, aaj nahi hai, tomorrow it will come, how will it happen? So I think the impact of digitalization in any space is huge. But we should know how to use it. The issue
Right.
is that it not be like a genie which you have the Aladdin lamp, we do not know how to use it. That would be sad. My point is, are we thinking in this direction? The way I just put together. Are we looking
Mm.
at data sources across the country? Which industries have used data sources for solving what problems? Are we putting it
Mm.
together? Are we churning it together in a data lake? And are we coming
Mm.
out solution which save lives and upscales the
Correct.
citizens? Is the bigger question that we should be asking us.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Valid points. Well, let me come to you. And insurance companies, specifically life insurers, the largest investors into the capital market. Obviously, you have your own criteria of IRDI, but considering the volatility in the market, considering the pickup that we have seen in the stock market, how do you see the whole, the economy picking up? Obviously, the economic survey has predicted 8 to 8.5%. But how do you, see the whole growth, not only of an insurance company, but whole economy going ahead? And will you be more, what you can say, bullish in terms of infusing your capital, your policyholders' money into capital market, far more aggressively now?
So I see. I'm very gungo about growth, but growth
Hmm.
and valuations are two slightly different things. India has had its fair share of attraction in terms of FII money flowing in. We
Hmm.
did see that, and also it was well timed with the bounce back after wave one, and then
Hmm.
wave two was not so much of a dampener in terms of growth, fortunately.
Hmm.
And so FII monies and capital markets did exceedingly well. And
Hmm.
towards the end of last year, in terms of calendar year, the
Hmm.
entire hitting the market of a lot of fintechs
Hmm.
and some of the unicorns
Hmm.
started happening. So
Right.
all of that came together about this new buzz around India, and also it was juxtaposed with what was happening in China and the
Hmm.
flight of capital from China for some time at least in the more recent times. So it was a perfect set of events that came together for the capital markets in India. Having said that, we are seeing some tempering. We also have to see it in terms of what is Fed doing, and hopefully
Yes.
without a tantrum, the tapering happens. But we are not really decoupled from what's happening there, what's happening in other parts, what's happening in Ukraine, for example, what's happening with crude.
Yes.
Um, so all those things, if someone sneezes somewhere else because of those reasons, then India does still catch a cold. So one has to see this, but longer term, everything depends
Hmm.
on what horizon you're talking about. Longer term, no question about it, about what capital markets can do in India, and how they are headed. Yes, there will be some short term, or can be certain short term volatility, but I would
Hmm.
not worry too much. You asked about policyholder money, absolutely. So whatever is the mandate of the policyholder,
Yes.
so unit link product, they choose how much is debt equity, and different kinds
Hmm.
of equity. Even after they've chosen different kinds of funds, there's also a newest kid on the block of ESG fund, for example.
Yes.
So we have whatever it is that policyholders want to invest, and they can keep switching also. So we'll continue to see that. Our own money also, in terms of shareholders' funds, we do invest, and it's a
Hmm.
good mixture of debt equity. So very optimistic in the medium term, certainly on India Inc.
Right. Uh, Tapan sir, there is one thing or one theme the government has been talking about since almost 1.5 years, and that is, in fact, integral part of the budget also, which is Atmanirbhar Bharat. It's not. I'm not. My question is not directly related to insurance now, but how do you see this theme is panning out? Because even in yesterday, the president said something very nice before the economic survey. He said that the defense has decided, the defense sector, the defense ministry, that they will not import 209 products which they were importing earlier, because the Atmanirbhar Bharat, that the companies here will manufacture that. How do you see this, step in terms of building India going ahead?
No, I think this is a very interesting and a very powerful step, but I think a lot more has to be done from what's currently happening. Because if you look at India's growth story has been mostly on the service side, in terms of industry.
Yeah.
In the manufacturing side, it still can be better than what it is. So these are the right steps in that direction. I'm very happy to hear the announcement that happened on that. Even on the infrastructure part, the announcement for the ports, which is to be looked into, or the multimodal transportation, which has been announced in the budget. These are all the steps inside in the direction for Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat only. So these are very powerful steps. But is it enough? Is the question. I think we still have to do much more on that, and to accelerate this, we have to be one of the manufacturing hubs for the world. I think that is something which we have to be there, And so these are very positive steps, Amol, but I think we can still do a bit more on this. So if you look at budget announcements also, these are all gearing towards the same Atmanirbhar Bharat in terms of putting together. When you put all the different pieces together, the directionally is moving towards that. But I think we should move a bit more faster than what we currently are in that space.
True. Vibha, do you want to add on Atmanirbhar Bharat?
All of this is in the right direction, whether it's Atmanirbhar Bharat, whether it is Make in India, whether it is any of the Prime Minister's schemes. This is almost the grassroots. It's the right direction that they're headed, rather than just having dole outs. Rather than just giving the easy money or freebies that are easy to do or relatively easy to do. I think having manufacturing in India, services in India, which are sustainable in long term, I think that is really what will sustain us as a nation to be able to build on this. And we are a largely domestic-led economy compared to some of our other countries in this region, and that's a good thing to happen, because it also, my earlier point about decoupling, it helps you withstand some shocks from having preventing over dependence on other economies by just import exporters. So I think that Atmanirbhar Bharat is dovetails into that broader spectrum of how do we decouple from rest of the world.
Okay. There's one question I will ask to both of you. Actually, it's more on the government company side, but again belongs to your sector. So now the government is very aggressive in terms of coming with an IPO for an LIC, and the finance minister also said that it will be very, very soon, perhaps by the end of this financial year only. There will be a lot of updates on that. There are already private insurance companies listed in the market. How do you see, because it's the largest company coming into the market, what kind of difference do you see in the insurance market when LIC comes into the market as a listed entity?
I only see positives. Number one, for the largest financial institution not to be listed was not an ideal situation. This will bring about a lot more transparency, a lot more disclosures, accountability that comes with every listing, whether you're the largest or whether you're the smallest, whoever hits the market. So that is a great positive. Second is it helps the government itself in terms of its objectives. I think this is a red herring, frankly, when I get asked the question, because LIC has been there as a competitor, as the largest life insurer. Nothing really changes. So your capital structure does not suddenly mean that overnight it gives you extra bandwidth to do something that you didn't have earlier. You were the mightiest earlier. You continue to be the mighty. You're the biggest and you're the oldest. And no one's taking that away. So I don't think that it's an unfair advantage or a disadvantage because of IPO. And apart from the advantage overall that I talked about, yes, there are some tweaks in terms of the 95-5 ratio is going to be tweaked over. I think they have some 3-year horizon or thereabouts to get to 90-10 and further. So that is more for an internal. This is a split of profits between your policyholder and shareholders. So shareholders will get a higher level of profits. But right now it's fairly small. What is your embedded value? How much is it growing by? What are your margins? All of this disclosure will bring about transparency. But apart from that, I don't really see anything significantly differing from a competitive dynamics over the next 3-4 years.
Okay, valuable thoughts, man. Tapan sir, along with LIC, I would like you to also comment on the privatization which is due for the few PSU insurance companies which they are talking about. They earlier said about it. Obviously, there is no clarity in this budget, but they have already said that they will do it. So, what kind of difference will it have in the market?
So first and foremost, for the general insurance business, Amol, for many years now, 14, 15 years, you have an industry which is a combined ratio close to 117 to 120%. Combined ratio means for every 100 rupees earned, the industry is losing about 17-20 in the underwriting basis. Now, for so many, in the world, you have a situation like this. It has its own strain now. Not only for the government companies, you look at some of the private companies also. They are not able to sustain the business. They are being sold out. And you look at the government companies also, the privatization is happening, but they can't sustain the business. The solvency has gone below the requisite level, which is required. To me, it's a very sad state of affairs from the industry perspective. Because an industry which is vibrant, which is able to demonstrate the competence to underwrite well, is able to serve the customers well. India has just about 40-50 insurance companies. Imagine a place like Singapore has 600, US has 2,000. So it's a shame. Our country should have at least 1,000 insurance companies in the market. But I think the kind of environment which is there in terms of sustenance, if that is not demonstrated by the industry, then that would be a sad thing. So to me, when I hear this, I feel sad from industry perspective. I want all companies to be very strong, very vibrant, because India is such a huge market and our penetration is still so low, and we hardly contribute to the GDP of the country, no? Where a contribution can be at least, no, like 500, 600x of what we do today. So I think a lot has to be done. So the last thing we want to see is companies getting weak, companies getting sold off, companies getting merged. So it's not only about government; it's at the private level also. I've seen some companies which cannot sustain this. So I sincerely hope and pray that the industry comes up and is able to become much stronger than what it is, and there should be at least much more companies than what it is today that we see, Amol. You unmute, Amol.
Yeah, sure. Certainly, sir. I think valuable points, and I can see the sector is picking up a lot of insurtech companies at least entering in this space. We have recently acquired another company. They're going bigger, So I think there is a lot of exciting news in this particular sector. Wish the finance minister could have actually looked at GST or some tax slab, which would have really benefited the insurance industry far more aggressively. Actually, thank you so much, Tapan sir and Vibha for sharing your insights here. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this insurance session. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, Amol.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you, Tapan.